right, guys, welcome back here for the grand finals between NRG and Swisher, NRG and M80. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Swisher's playing for M80, that's for sure. I
And
was
we
just
do
looking at
love
my
Swisher.
notes. He was on my screen. Yes, we do love Swisher. He's quite a talent here in North America that we appreciate for multiple reasons. But we're getting into it here, getting ready to get started. I'm excited to see who's going to qualify for Blast Open Fall 2025, that closed qualifier, Cole.
Yeah, I'm absolutely ecstatic here. It's going to be a fun day in North America, of course, deciding who's going to be able to move forward. Obviously, a lot on the line, a lot of opportunities to try and build up in the VRS to challenge yourself up against the best of the best. This always is a qualifier here that's near and dear to my heart. So looking forward to seeing who's moving forward right now and who's going to be kind of falling behind at the final hurdle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about M80 first because honestly, this has been a team that has impressed me so very much over the last month, right? Since they added Hex. And we see here who got eliminated, of course, a wild card being the one that I kind of expected to make it further, even though the change in Stanislav being added back was very recent. But they couldn't get past Marsborn. And you see, like, the two teams that, if it wasn't going to be wild card making it, are the ones that got into the grand final here, Cole, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree right there. I mean, NRG obviously still looking to land on their feet with their big roster adjustments. It's going to take some getting used to. I think they're kind of figuring that out and how they're going to structure this team. But for M80, it feels like they've got that desired effect of the Hex addition here in this roster, right? It's the idea that this M80 team needs to be able to establish themselves as more of a dominant force in North America when so many changes were happening in the offseason. M80, I think we're getting caught up on by some of these other teams here. And they want to elevate this roster to the point where they're once again, going on these massive win streaks here. Like we remember towards the tail end of what, 2023, where they were going on huge performances. And so they want to replicate that success. Hex is really bringing in that energy here. They're dominating the NA scene, and it's a really good sign from this team.
Yeah, Hex brings the energy in and out of the server, right? In terms of how vocal he is, how energetic he gets when things are going well, even when they're not. He tries to hype his team up. So I think that's important, but also in the server, he's a more aggressive anchor than Rek was. He likes to take space. He likes to go and explore the map a lot more. So I like that M80 are also kind of exploring that, right? They're also looking at it and saying, okay, Hex, let's play around that. Let's build you up as a fragger here on this squad and not just someone who's going to stick on a bomb site. So I think that's fantastic on their side. Since joining for Hex anyway, they've only lost one series, and that was a BO5 against Kelsey, right, in Fragadelphia. Since that point, they've won 8 BO3s in a row. They haven't given up a single map, nor have they given up more than 9 rounds in any single map. They've won 2 tournaments, Cole, in just a month. The NA Revival Series number 7 and Thunderpick World Championship 2025 NA Series number 2. $24,000 earned since Frag, $33,000 if you include Frag, and now a chance to qualify for Blast Open Fall 2025. It could not be going better for that M80 squad.
And you got to think here, that's huge implications for the VRS. Winning, tournaments back to back here, making a deep run on land is huge for the VRS here. This is a team that doesn't just want to make it to the MRQs here, but they want to go above and beyond and lock themselves in a spot at the major initially. Being able to continue that conversation with 3 events in a row would be the way to do that. That would be how they could secure themselves, getting themselves more opportunities to scale here on M80, and they're on that path right now. I think NRG definitely a team that can put up resistance. We've seen the flashes. We're seeing Exotic play at an all-time high, but for the matchup here, I think M80 coming into this one playing with maximum confidence. As you said, the energy and activity coming through from Hex is really building this team. Not only on the CT sides, because you talk about his aggressive anchoring that he can bring to the table. That's a huge aspect, but also the way that he's able to play on those extremities on the T side here. He doesn't just hang back and wait for contact. He's going to make those plays on the T side, giving, Sin more opportunities to call around him. And I think that's a needed aspect of this team.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I think like he's just a powerful lurker. We kind of forget that. And I'm glad you pointed out just he's able to make things work very well for this squad. And I saw it a lot in the recent matches that I casted of them on overpass, right? He goes towards that B site and is always active. He's always getting that util out, trying to take fights, trying to win them. And when that happens, especially on a map like overpass, you open up a ton of space and you're forcing the CTs to react. And then, as you mentioned, Sin can make a nice call and choose, wherever he'd like to go. It usually goes into the A site off of it, but they can always rotate back to B if Hex is continuing to have success. So it's really, really nice to watch them have that new element to their game. And you're going to see in the highlights, it's been fantastic. Even on right here on Overpass, it was a relatively close first half for a little bit, but they're going to punish that aggression, every single time that Marsborn tried to deploy it last night, which, like I said, this is an M80 team that is not to be messed with in North America. I talked about it in the green room with you, Cole, and I feel like they're untouchable in North America at this stage. I don't feel like there's any single team that can beat them.
Yeah, that's a necessity for this organization, right? That's the goal that they were hoping to find themselves in this off season, and I think really capitalizing on that when you look at the big sweeping roster changes that a lot of these teams have made, a little bit of I would just say mismanagement coming through from Wildcard and their roster and how they handled that.
God.
You've got that drop off. You've got NRG making some massive changes and bringing in 2 new pieces, changing up your oppers. So I think M80 gets this luxury of making a small change. I think a reasonable one, a sensible change that just immediately boosts them, gives them that floor already that's able to establish here. But
No,
NRG, they're looking to reach new heights here, and they're hoping that Zada can bring them there. They're hoping that the connection from George and Carson in the past can bring them there. It's bold calls here. It's risky moves from NRG, but they have to really prove themselves with this window that they have of opportunity with Nitro on the roster.
Yeah, it's interesting for NRG. I would have rather, well, I don't know. I want to say I would have rather had OC on the NRG roster. If you want to make a change, they would have been forced to make a change because Hex was going to M80 apparently, regardless of if this NRG move was going to come through. But I don't know if Carson would have necessarily been my choice. There's just so many players that maybe you could look at. Some of the more up and coming ones from Advanced or maybe something like that could come through. But Zodic's return to North America after a break, he's looking strong. His opping is going very well. I can't necessarily blame them for taking a chance on him. And then Carson does have his upsides, right? So he's also called before, so maybe he can support Nitro. He was calling on the Getting Info squad before they picked him up here on NRG. I don't know. It's just still for me a question mark. Zodic's numbers, you cannot question those though. They are absolutely fantastic. You're going to see the shots he's hitting here on Overpass. It took overtime against Boss and he was an integral piece. 1.36 impact for him, 1.32 rating, and also his sniper rating is 93 out of 100. He has been honestly that good for them. We saw some shaky moments at times on day one where he was missing some shots. We're like, okay, that's a bit weird, but overall he has been very, very good. And I mean, that's a strong sign for the NRG squad, but at the same time, that won't mean anything if you can't be competitive against M80 or the top teams.
I mean, that's what's necessary here for this roster, right? Is that NRG can challenge here, not only challenge, but also beat teams like M80 on a consistent basis. They have such great pieces on this roster. They want to be able to assert their dominance in the server here, use that leadership coming through from Nitro, bring in Zodic into the mix, and see that sort of that op element that he brings, those excellent reads that he has here in terms of his positioning. As you said, I feel like he's still kind of getting used to how you have to op here in this team and in this environment. That can lead to some shaky moments, but overall, as you said, the numbers are looking fantastic. He's bringing in big multi-kills. He's being able to provide coverage here for NRG when it matters most. And for that case, I think he's making a good statement for himself to really lift off. I'm hoping to see that carry forward up against the best of the best. Even past that point, I want to see how he operates in Tier 1 versus the best teams in the world. That would be a really interesting factor. If he can keep up those flashy numbers and start connecting on more of those easy shots, I think he can be a huge element for this team.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you there. I think he already has proven that he's been a pretty big element to this team in only less than a month or only a month of time on the roster. All that being said, Let's head into the map veto, and this is going to get interesting because M80 have been picking into Overpass pretty much every single BO3, except the previous one I think they picked into Ancient up against, was it Supernova Comets at one point? Anyway, look, just suffice to say, NRG has been picking Overpass as well. So that means that M80 may get 2 picks here, in my opinion, because I feel like they're the better team in terms of calling and performance on Overpass at this stage. And okay, they actually decide to pick into Overpass immediately. It doesn't necessarily surprise me. I just felt like NRG might have picked it anyway. But either way, this has been very solid in the early goings for M80 Cole.
Yeah, utter dominance here on this map here, being able to constantly pick up victories. I've already played it 8 times, which is kind of crazy. It hasn't been out for
every
long.
series, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but it's just their stronghold right now. They also get trained here coming through from NRG. That's not a big surprise here. We're seeing 2 very op-heavy maps right now coming through out of both of these teams, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of excitement. But I do think NRG kind of getting a luxury of what I thought was going to be Overpass left to a decider ends up being Mirage. I'm with you. I do think that there's some opportunities for NRG to pull some strings here. Now you have to show up. You have to come through with a game plan on Overpass, right? And most of all, I think you just have to dominate on your CT side when you get that chance, when you get the opportunity. This has to be a CT side where we see Zodic elevate his game here like he was able to do in the past. But yeah, I think a lot of it is going to come down to the interest here of M80 on this opening map.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. I'm a little surprised maybe that NRG picked into Train because, well, I guess you could argue that M80 haven't played it as much. When they have, they've been very good. You know, they beat Colsey there in that BO5 13-11, and Colsey are a top 50 team in Europe, right? We can't forget how good they are. So that's impressive. Chicken Coop, advanced team, I suppose, 13-0, but 13-0, like they destroyed them. And then Marsborn, I think that was yesterday, 13-6 on Train. I felt, and I mean, you could argue this is not the case anymore, but Mirage is probably where M80 are most vulnerable against the top teams, against the teams that can really bring some high-tier gameplay their way. But you could also look at the results that they've had lately and say, well, maybe that's not necessarily true, because against Blue Jays, who I consider to be very good, 13-6, getting info. That one, I don't even know how that happened. 13-1 on Mirage, and then the other 2 aren't as noteworthy. But you see those 2 matches where you're playing against, you know, the upper tiers of North America. They're coming out with strong wins now. So I don't know, but if you look at Colsey match, it was 6-13. That's the loss. I look at him and say, this is where you can poke out and find those vulnerabilities in M80's particularly defensive side of Mirage. But anyway, look, we're only going to get there if we get to map 3, and I'm not sure that is necessarily going to happen here, Cole.
Oh, well, we haven't seen map 3 here for 8 maps or 8 series in a row. So
yeah.
it's I'm right there with you. I understand the idea. I think that M80 obviously coming into this one in a position of power with this win streak, with the momentum backing them up, making all the right moves here. And when you talk about like this veto, and again, you look at the extra elements, like some of these weaknesses in the veto in the past, I think are shored up by the fact that Hex really comes in. Like I think of Mirage and what he can do in apartments right now for this team, it just adds another element that I do think NRG were missing in terms of the T side calling that you can get out of Sin now. There's just going to be more opportunities here for this team to activate on their entire map pool.
I agree with you, and it's already made a difference. You know, as we were pointing out, right? They're already starting to win on Mirage, where, excuse me, they used to have those vulnerabilities. And you said about T side for sure for Hex and apartments, but also on CT side, because he anchors B, right? So he goes in towards those apartments on both sides of the map, and you have to deal with him one way or another, and that has really created headaches for their opponents. Look, we have to wait a little bit longer, guys. Players are still getting ready to jump into this server, but when we come back, we'll have Overpass in the grand finals here between M80 and NRG. All right, it's time to kick off the Ace NA Masters 2025 Season 2 Blast Premier Rising Grand Final between NRG and M80. They will qualify for Blast Open London here with a win. Who will
Looking
it
forward
be?
to seeing who's going to grab that prize there. A lot on the line. Chances to rise, chances to play up against the best, and M80 right now looking to be that team that can prove this region can be dominated. Quick peek from Carson disrupts the execute, and George follows it up, but the trades are swift before the counter flashes can get involved. So a 3v3 here, looking to get into the bomb site.
Yeah, I feel like if there's any team right now in North America that can compete with M8 on Overpass, it might be NRG because, as I mentioned, they have been picking into it, and they went into overtime against Boss yesterday. Zodic waiting here at the B site. It's all 6 players engaging towards B. M80 trying to find this space. What a drive-by shot from Slack. Swisher does the same to Nitro in towards Pit, and Slack's the last. Everyone getting in on the mix on that one, except for Sin. But wow, what a round from M80 and a close coming through there for their 1-0 lead.
Very quick reaction right there. Comes down to being able to swing those duels there in a 3v1 as opposed to a 3v3 on the side of NRG. They just can't quite react to the speed at which M80 are knocking them down. So a little bit of discipline right there for M80 to slow that down, get themselves in position to find their targets isolated. They get the pistol, and they should be able to get the following here. I think the challenge that you have picking into this map is also those T-side starts, which can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
And back in the olden days of Overpass, here we know how hard this map can be to lift off, but what a reaction right there. Sin's waiting for that flash. They've done the research as to how this NRG team likes to play. That's an instant reaction off the back of that flashbang to toss the HE on in and just completely destroy that.
I think a lot of teams have been trying for that aggression around Fountain as well against them. 80 and Lake a little bit labored in that engagement, survives it through HP and gives a little BM to his opponent. But 2-0 from M80. Yeah, but what I was going to say was M80 have been dealing with that aggression towards Fountain in a lot of their matches, and it did work, I think, a couple of times, the teams when they attempted it, but they're always ready for that to come through now. So you see with the protocols that they're putting in place, I agree with you. No, NRG is a team that does enjoy taking that aggression. So M80 had the read, but still, they just feel like they're on another level in terms of their overpass play and play in general right now. We'll see if NRG can put a dent into that. Obviously, their first gun round is going to come through here. FAMAS has to be brought up and everyone else onto the M4s. And Hex, as we mentioned, lurks around that B site fairly consistently.
Looking to find some strides on in here again. Got limitations on the block utility here for the side of NRG, just as a nature of this third round buy that comes through. You can see Bro with no utility, committed position. Meanwhile, M80 have vacated the B side of the map entirely. Recycle the utility towards Monster. Now it's just going to start the crawl through the bathrooms here. This is a full pack unit. They're running the old snake strat here on Overpass, where you just try and contact as long as possible. But you got to get explosive here at some point. Coverage for Bro. He takes that contact. Now this might cue up some speedier aggression coming through from the side of M80, but they're blocked by this utility. The little that they have left is used so effectively.
Look at Carson. Yeah. Nitro and Carson both pushed into the bathrooms there. Traded out is Carson, but they don't expect Nitro to still be there. And Zodic on the other side is doing his job. Lake will finally trade him. Where's Nitro? Where are you, Nitro? You got to activate. He takes a little too long, but finally does get a couple. Thing is, now it's a 1v1 Hex versus George. And George still has to make his way up. Bomb hasn't been planted yet, actually, so Hex going to have to get a move on. He's looking for George. Looks the wrong way, and George will win it.
Yeah, reads into the flank, just not quite able to adjust. You saw them take down Bro inside of connector. I guess in Hex's mind, he doesn't expect 2 to be activating like that.
Right.
So completely blindsided right there. I think a interesting setup coming through from NRG. Nitro so late to activate.
Yeah.
You think, okay, I can help out my teammates on site there if I push through that smoke. He doesn't take that risk. He just looks for that bomb planter instead as the smoke fades away. Definitely a little bit risky, but at least it works out in this case. Comes down to a 1v1 though. And now it's the full AK buy coming through. Not 3 Mac 10s in the mix. This is every gun at the disposal. Swisher tossing some good utility right now. That's not going to force Bro out. So he's going to have to challenge this duel here. Look at Hex crosshair placement on that jump spot.
Yeah.
He's got the right idea there. Just too difficult to shot. And again, Bro still tucking his cubby. Going to get a freebie. A back turn. Bro committed in his angle. And it completely overlooked for now. Flash over connector as well, but Lake's past that point. This could get scary now. Oh,
I'm
here's
surprised.
Zox rotate.
Yeah, I'm surprised Fisher doesn't clear that corner, though. It's just very commonly
Oh
held.
my god. I think Zodic's dead here. Okay, he gets the spot off. That's big time. He can't win the duel, though, so A side is open. They're going to leave the B side of the map here. And M80 are going to look to plant their feet on the site.
Lake's just waiting and holding connector at this stage. Reinforcements should arrive soon.
I mean, I wonder if NRG are really going to make much moves. They're still just starting to queue up their rotates, but do they want to get into the site before the bomb's down?
I'm not sure. I would imagine they want some visibility here. I don't know if they want to go for the full-on retake setup, but at this stage, with the util coming in, they may have no choice. I mean, the smoke and the Molotov are thrown, and there'll be a smoke into that Molotov. Maybe a player could creep out here. Nitro might be thinking about it.
Oh my
Bomb gonna get planted.
God.
No, he just spams the smoke and connects on his slacks. A little bit of luck, potentially going a long way there, but the bomb is planted. Post-plant situation. NRG looking to fight their way back in. 3 players going to be in from bank. The other one probably dumpster. But Sin is ready to throw this Molotov. As soon as the smoke fades, that's going to delay them even further. Great molly, but
What?
Bro doesn't care. Gets it onto Hex through the wall this time. They're getting it through the wall, through the smokes, everything. M80 still standing though and kicking around. Sin and Lake dropping Nitro and Bro, leaving it all up to George. Heart pounded, trying to get that defusal, but he won't even get close. Sin hangs on for the 3K, and M80, despite being at a man disadvantage in that post plant, will take it, but with no survivors.
How do they do that, though? I mean, I can't believe the kills that NRG get in recovery of that round in the 4v4. One straight through the smoke from Nitro, and then the other a wall bang onto the player close dumpster. So you think that's the disruption they need here, but look at the activity. Sin knowing his teammate's low on health. He's got to make some moves. He's got to be able to stop them at the first jump of that retake, and that's exactly what he does. That right amount of activity coming through in the post plant to shore up the weak spot. Really impressive moves coming through here from M80 to secure that post plant, despite NRG with some good fortune there on the wall bangs and smoke spam.
Now they're on the eco though. And Hex will farm a little bit of cash. Says thank you very much, George and Zodic. I will take that $1,200 and put it right in my back pocket.
Those 2 players
Person.
are known here.
Yeah, they're probably done, you'd think, given the situation.
Want to win this through elimination. they're walking into the site stack here. They know that USP's though around the corner, so not too concerned about that fact. And while banging doing anything to find these kills, they want to farm up some money there, and Swisher will do just that. Extra bread in his pockets there, and M80 gonna really start thriving on this T side.
4-1. Yeah, I mean, you already talked about it before. The toughest thing for Overpass and Train, I would argue, is that when you pick into them, you have to start T side. So the favored side is you're going to be going up against it repeatedly, and that's something that M80 have done very well. Is their starts to T side. You know, sometimes you've had the closer scorelines like the 7-5s or the 8-4s, but when I say 7-5, I mean in their favor. You know, like they're the ones coming out and having the leads, which is ridiculous, honestly. It looks like they're on path to potentially get that again. Swisher going out with Lake, and actually Lake is the first one to fall. Shot from Bro. Zodic's holding the angle with the op, but there's a jump peek and a Molotov toss, so he's going to have to back off a little bit. NRG hoping that the aggression works out here, and it's kind of what you have to do to rebuff M80 into that connected position. Swisher only gets one nice isolation,
man.
but the trade is better from Hex, who will bring it back to even numbers at a 3v3.
I mean, good monster control here from the side of NRG to try and recover this one, but they're just going to have a small window of opportunity here. They've got to rely on Zodic to offer up some shots with this AWP.
Oh, they're going
Maybe
back to
they don't.
George.
They're going to walk right back into George here. He's going to hear these footsteps very soon. A committed angle, but they've hit shift. They're walking it out now, and Slack is in a position to land this trade, and he finds it. Beautiful work, but at a heavy cost of his health. The B side is open.
Yeah, for
not
now.
for long.
I was going to say Carson's going to close that space, but it's just group up and hit a site at this point for M80 because both NRG players are isolated. They don't know that, of course.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh, fantastic movement to dodge the off shot. And again! Oh, beautiful stuff there. M80 finding that frag and the movement absolutely gorgeous. Carson, the last one standing, he has to rotate back into the site. That was a masterclass.
Oh my god, Zonic can't react. That is brutal. What motion right there. Rolling on out from M80. It's still a chance at recovery. Unfortunately for Carson, he's used that smoke that he had left. So now there's no smoke for the bomb, but he doesn't have a kit. So does he have a chance? I don't think so.
No.
Missed shot. Not going to provide him much relief here. AK to grab onto and save.
Yeah, just trying to save there. I mean, I thought Slacks had it, to be honest with you, but missed the shot. And Carson might still die. Look at Slacks go. He's hightailing it to Monster, and this is another one. Whoa, he hit the leg. He hit the leg.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man, Carson is so lucky to be alive. As Slacks cut short of fragging him twice. M80, though, happy with the result no matter which way you slice it, as it's 5-1 in their favor, especially after losing the opening duel, right? Swisher gets traded out in lower, but the key is that Hex makes it down to a 3v3, and their patience going back to the upper tunnels, right? Because a lot of teams might just both push out at the same time, trying to get back towards the B site. You know, time is kind of against them, but that doesn't happen. They wait with one player behind the wall, and Hex only thinks that one went back, and it was a great trade afterwards that keeps M80 in that round.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with that decision making alone there. That just shows the awareness here of M80's vulnerabilities in these defaults. They are looking fierce. Got some forward angles here. You know, you're hearing Lake Murad up this A side, and so you think that's going to bait some aggression here from Bro in the late round to peek around that corner here. But instead, just going to hold his line for now. You turn a little too far, that op is going to catch you. That's what the play is designed for.
Slacks holding, waiting towards long A. Peak is inevitable, it feels like, but yeah, Slacks ends up getting that shot, and Lake also finds one in towards mid, so this is already a 5v3 in favor of M80, as you would expect, around what is effectively a half buy and a saved AK. Yeah.
They're flushing Carson out of position as well.
Exactly.
He's going to have a really challenging time sticking around here. Teammate going and helping him out, though. It's a good sign. He's still locked into connector in terms of not being able to really cover off short side. And if you lose George, the round is confirmed for this point. Swisher's favorite angle on overpass. On top of that perch right there. And he's going to knock down the remaining two and get an AK to upgrade onto as well. So a pretty devastating lead here for M80 at the moment.
Yeah, and one thing, speaking of Swisher, right, one thing that's kind of maybe been overlooked since Hex has been added, some people are noticing it, but he has really gone another level. They've changed kind of his positioning and his roles and everything, and you see he's in better spots to find frags. And overall, you know, a lot of people were looking at him saying, oh, maybe Swisher's the one who's going to be on the chopping block for M80. Even he thought he was. Even he's like, I can't believe I'm still here. So, I think that he's viewing this as a second chance, as an opportunity to shine, and man, has he ever. His performance has been nuclear, right? He's 1.29 rating and impact, both the exact same. His firepower's gone up to 88 and an 82.5 ADR. That's just over the last month in the 44 maps that they've played. It's been really a revelation for him having Hex by his side on this roster now, and it's changed everything for M80. Like, they thought they were just going to get an upgrade, you know, over Rec, maybe a more aggressive anchor, but they also got Swisher, who's starting to look absolutely lethal, and that's another reason why they've had such dominant victories.
It's really cool to see here. I mean, it's obviously looked very sacrificial, but I think a large talking point is kind of the leadership role that Swisher plays in the mix there with some of these young guns, you know, when you have that connection between Swisher and Lake that stood so far, and on which there is some trust in that department. It does feel like it's a good idea to trust that Swisher can continue to bring that game that he once has. Just trying to get him more comfortable in these roles here. And I think that's what we're seeing right now to this squad. Flashbang looking good there. Actually, Collapse, though, better coming through from the side of Bro and Nitro. Able to lock horns here in towards the A side. Sonic also aggressive with the op. You know he's going to be sticking around here somewhere on that A side of the map. And Sonic looking to help out his teammate stuck in long bathrooms at the moment.
Zonic will help his teammate out, finding that frag onto Hex. Sin and Slacks, the German duo, still very dangerous, and you see it there. Sin with the insta-headshot, not taking a lick of damage, bringing it down to only a man edge for NRG. 30 seconds left, the clock is against M80. And I think Sin is just trying to line up Util at this point to set up Slacks for a peek, but he has to get a move on too to get that bomb in position. Here comes Slacks, takes a shot, misses. Knows there might be another player here, throws the Molotov for Bank. That's not the right spot. They're both over at Truck, and there goes Slack. Sin, last one standing, 9 seconds left. Can he clutch this out or even get a bomb plant out of it? Ooh, misses the spray onto Zodic. The round is probably over now. Indeed it is, and Zodic will wrap it up with a pretty bow. His second frag on the round, and 2 up for NRG as well.
There you go. I mean, a little impact there. Out of Zodic, what's most important, I think, is that NRG putting a lot of emphasis on connector has not been working for them. So switching up the rifle presence on this A side towards bathrooms is a much better approach to deal with how M80 have been contact walking their way through this A side and catching timings. That's something incredibly difficult to do on the T side. It's what makes this map so heavily defensive favored back in the day, is that the contact approach usually gets shut down by opping presence and by riflers. So a bit of a change-up pitch, looking a lot better, but that's a nade stack right on the money. Look at the damage that's done on a Carson and Nitro right now, off the back of the double HEs, and they're gonna read into this one perfectly. A 1-bullet kill on the Nitro on the body, off the back of that early utility damage, and the opening gambit for NRG is disrupted.
I mean, this is something that Hex is just pretty much memorized in terms of where he has to hold his crosshair for the boost, for the jump over and everything, and you see that there. Finds the opener. George waiting on the other side. Energy obviously a heavier lean to be off of that, and that's what Hex gives you, because this isn't necessarily going to the B site, but just finding that one frag makes them question, is this where it's going? Flashbang going to get tossed out now? M80 are so good at playing the mind games, and as time continues to tick away here, you do feel like their final destination is going to be the A site. And with the bomb rotating around towards Playground, yeah, that's pretty much confirmed.
Yeah, looking to get in a position where they can trade things out. Bro catching some early contact, but there's just a revelation of where he's playing out right now, and that means pressure on his shoulders. He's not going to get any help either in this round, so it's all on Bro's shoulders to deliver in this situation, and he gets taken down early. This is a safe call from NRG, unless maybe Carson can get involved. He's half HP though, and M80 have done the hard work already in this one.
Now they got bamboozled. It's done. Bomb gonna get planted here, and NRG, looking at their economy, will just go for the eco. Have to stabilize a little bit, and there's nothing they can really throw the way of M80. Wow. I mean, that's just beautiful stuff. And again, like we were highlighting earlier, it comes off of Hex opener, lurking around that B site. And then Sin is sticking around by his side to throw flashes and bits and pieces of util to bait NRG, and thinking that that is ultimately where the hit is going to go. But it never was. It was always destined for this A site, as M80 pick up a 7th and win the first half. As I said, not unusual for them on their T side.
Yeah, they're just delivering here from the start of that play where they double HE the boost to being able to isolate and just deal with Bro systematically. Now a hunting effort. Oh, and Swisher will collect onto Carson. So an extra kill right there, working in favor of M80. Only had a sacrifice of a single player.
Yeah, it's worth it.
This T side looking dominant here. Another investment coming through on the CT side to try and get things rolling, but there's that activity. I mean, not only that kill alone, but the presence that he continues to draw out by trying to make more moves. He almost went through the monster side. You can see the activity that Hex is bringing to the table, not shying away from any duels.
No. So what he does best, honestly, is just get into the face of the opponents, and M80 are embracing that. It's obviously up against his former team, right? We didn't really talk about that, but yeah, Hex versus NRG. I don't know if there's necessarily any bad blood between himself and Nitro Bro and George. I don't think so. I think he just wanted a change of scenery, and M80 offered that, and he said, "Okay, let's go. Ready to jump forward and play with a squad that honestly was facing their struggles, trials, and tribulations as well. We can't forget that early 2025, late 2024, M80 stagnated. They were not going up in terms of their performances. Even in North America, they were struggling, and that was almost a fear of a downturn for them. But since this new addition, things have looked very, very different. On the NRG side, Zodic has been honestly pretty solid for them, but this time around hasn't found his rhythm the way he would want to, just because of how M80 are making it difficult for him to find open space.
There's one there. I think a bit of a change-up pitch for Lake to try and speed things up. Hex looking for some entrance in towards his B side, looking to move quickly. Spam looking direct. They've been rebuffed. They're not going to force the issue here. HE doing some extra chip damage, but the spam hurts as well. So forced to take a slower approach on this one here. Leaning in towards the bathroom sides again. Bro and Zodic in a committed setup. Swisher looking to hunt things out. Not making any secret with that jump forward. Getting Zodic's aim ready. Gotta get a move on here. Just ain't gonna go towards long. The utility looking a little bit dry at the moment. We'll see what they have left. It seems to be used towards that B side at the moment. There's that early contact. Bro able to deliver a multi. Eventually falls, but damage already done. 20 seconds left, and with low HP, I don't know if you're gonna really make much more of an attempt in this.
No, they're gone. It makes sense. I mean, yes, T side, and they have money, but better to keep the op. It's exceptionally expensive, and you won't get that back in the loss bonus at all, not even close. It's sitting at 1,400 right now. And that's it. Round over. M80 rebuffed. It comes off of an opener from Zodic, and then Bro with a solid hold in the bathrooms. Yes, he falls, but you mentioned it, Cole. The damage he did was more than enough. Only 2 and 44 HP respectively for Slacks and Sin. And that's the opener that we were mentioning. Just charged up long, said, I want to take a fight. I'm tired of being flashed out. And it works out.
Yeah, placing a lot of trust there is a luxury with your opera involved as well, covering your back. And again, I think that's something you definitely trust when it comes to Zodic. Going to be able to connect on some of these shots here on overpass, find yourself some multi-kills if needed. Gets an opening in the last there. A bit of a luxury. Bro loud and proud here. It's back to this connector approach that I think has been more of a curse and a blessing for the side of NRG. Whether that's been trades or collapses in from M80. When you commit to that con control, it can leave you vulnerable in the mid to late round.
Yep. Definitely with you there. NRG taking an exceptionally passive approach. It looks like they wanted to get out into Monster for a moment. And they said, okay, no, we're going to stay here. 3 players towards B. I think even 4th. Very heavy emphasis towards that site. Zodic spots out some information, but now he's under pressure and needs to be careful. Fading off a little bit into bank, calling for the reinforcements, and Bro is going to rotate in to try and help him out. M80, 44 seconds left. It feels like the A site has to be hit at this point. There's no choice. No turning back. They don't have any information into B. Zodic and Bro. Look at Bro with the forward fight.
Bro getting committed here right now. You've also got flanks wrapping this round up. And already the disruption caused. Bro looking for more. Gets tracked down by Swisher though. Now it's going to come down to this flank here and how Zodic can hold the line. The flank looking to activate, but deleted by Sin. No more success. The bathrooms play coming through here. Can it deny the bomb? It can't deny the bomb here. Slacks can't trade though. Not just yet. Smoking a fade, but there's Slacks activating a 1v2 ahead of Nitro, getting right inside the smoke. And M80, despite the chaos created, coming out on top.
I just love the initiative too, like the aggressiveness from Swisher and Slacks in that instance. They don't sit back on the site. They don't go back in their laurels. They get into the faces of NRG, taking the fights into bathrooms. Great effort from NRG, we have to say it, right? In terms of getting the pieces in the right place and on that flank with Nitro and Carson being there. But Carson is a little bit rough on the spray, let's say, because he had a free one. At least one should have come through from him. If it does, NRG take that round.
Yeah, and you kind of need that that one right there. It can help out your players on the site to have a little bit more ground to gain there. Missed flank opportunity means missed round. Gotta find yourself needing to climb up a bit of a hill here. Maybe a mountain if they get 9 on M80 up against their CT side. That can be dominated as well.
Yeah. I think it's a mountain no matter what. I think 8 rounds is already a mountain for NRG, Cole. Because M80's just that good on their CT side. I mean, they're good on both ends, but, 62.5% win percentage on P side, and on CT side, 69.8%, almost 70, which is wild. Yeah, missed shot there, though. I think it might have connected, but Heck's still alive with 38 HP. Nitro waiting towards A. Nitro, gonna get one, maybe a second? No. Too tall of a task. Swisher will trade him out, and now gets the second as well. Zodic erased. He has been pretty much nullified in this first half.
Yeah, a couple opening duels here that have led to round wins, but long-term success been limited. And taken down without a kill. The late flashes coming through, just all the more impactful. Leaves it into a 3v4. Gonna have to try and find their way on in. Strides here, slacks his AWP. There's a big pickup and a missed op shot. Can create some moves on in. There's a player rolling up towards truck, but coverage all around here. Sin deleting the remainder of that retake, and M80 off to a dominant start here on their map pick.
All right, we're back. Second half of action. M80 with a ridiculous scoreline heading into the second half. T-side, 9 rounds is really solid on a map like Overpass. Now NRG are going to have to find the same success that M80 did. Not to say they can't, but it's going to be difficult with how good M80 have been on their defensive end. A pistol round would help. There's a gush there onto Hex, and he gets finished off. Did they expect the second player? That doesn't even matter. Lake's on the other side and gets 2 off of Sin's flash, and Sin's flash results in 5 flash assists in the first round. Swisher finishes off with the 3K. He's up to 14, and M80 get a 10th.
Yeah, it's good to see Swisher performing like this. It's so welcoming here for a guy that we know can deliver not only in North America, but has been able to prove it. If you remember those Bad News Bears days when they make it into pro leagues and the likes, him constantly being the guy that would try and tear up the server. But this is what he does best here. He just feels so comfortable. This round set up for success with the bait and switch, with the flashes that land perfectly from Sin. And NRG just can't gain traction. Not up against that 4-man lean on the B side. Walk into the meat grinder. They're going to walk away with still remaining on 3 rounds. And now M80 just kind of get to coast to the finish line here on their map pick. Might see a gun round out of NRG with this full eco coming up, but going to come down to that pretty much for their chance at revival here.
Yeah. I mean, NRG, Zodic's playing much better than I expected him to overall, you know, against mid-tier competition, but it's a tough matchup no matter which way you slice it up against this M84, just because they have not been facing any problems from any teams at all in North America. And you see an 11th round easily comes through for them. And this is what you talked about, Cole. NRG, last chance.
CT side economy here also buffed up there, so Slack's getting an op out for the first gun round. This is, you know, their win condition on the CT side of Overpass, as is so often the case. Controlling bathrooms with that op there, making sure that those contact plays get punished. And this is one of those rounds where if you're NRG, you're probably not expecting them to pull the op out. They've got such a healthy lead that you think they're going to play a bonus and just try and nurse their advantage. If they win it, it's probably an immediate map victory. So that op can still be an element of surprise here in the mix as well. Alongside that, a couple of MP9s. I'm going to try and press on the weaponry advantage here that you have with the AKs in play. Something that I feel like we didn't see as often from NRG. That's, you know, moving those players around, you know, getting 3-man stacks on the A side. A bit of a rarity, and we're seeing that already from M80. A bit of an adjustment. They're going on a fact-finding mission throughout the A side and recovering mid-round. It's a lot of damage taken from Hex right there. Finally have to use your smoke, but George putting the pressure on, making sure that they can't contain this space for free and save their utility for the late round. It still seems like an A-side finish. This is a bit of a concern here.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that, well, not M80, but a lot of teams on CT side don't realize is you need more presence on the A side, especially in the early round, to go and hunt for information, both at long and mid. Slacks, though, connecting with the AWP, finds Carson. 5v4 just like that. Time is of the essence for NRG. They have to push up quickly. George does get that important frag onto Lake, but they still have Slacks to worry about, who's hovering around in the bathrooms and going on for a flank. He's in such a power position, and Nitro will be his next victim. Now Hex activates on the front. They have too many places to look. They have to get frags quickly. Bro does deliver a couple, but it's now all down to Zodic with 5 seconds left. He has to try and panic plant the bomb. He won't even be able to do that. Too much pressure, and even though he gets the frag, the round goes M80's way.
Brutal stuff right there. I can't believe that they've almost forgot about Slacks, or thought maybe he repositioned in sight off the back of the counter utility from M80. I think that's kind of the two thoughts right there going through for NRG, but that's a disruptive kill coming through from Slacks before they can set up, and the amount of impact he gets being able to play from Divider on the A side while they're trying to get the bomb down. That is just pure panic in NRG. I'm surprised that they're able to at least get it to a 1v1. That's not a bad sequence from them, but there's no way you're going to stabilize with 10 seconds left with a player in Divider.
I agree. I mean, I think the biggest problem was they didn't have time, right? They're like, we can't chase them down. And they did panic because they had to go and get that bomb towards the A site as soon as possible. And that just allows Slacks to be like, okay, fine. You guys forget about me. I'm just going to slink my way in towards Divider and find another one towards the site. And that's what really opens up the space for the MP9s to activate too. Again, that was the bonus round for M80. Lake, what are you thinking? Lake's just backing in towards bathrooms here. Slacks finds the opener again. Nade sails through as well, and there's Lake. They don't even realize it. There's just too much going on. M80 are swarming, buzzing like flies around NRG. NRG just swatting at the air, missing everything. Bro, going to be the last one standing here. It was a 5v1. He does get one onto Hex, so one of those flies smacked down into the ground, but still got 4 more to deal with, and yeah, doesn't matter. How many times you try, M80 is just going to shut you down, and Slacks in particular, the 2K. Swisher was amazing this map, Cole. 18 frags. They're just so good right now. And I'm not trying to be mean to NRG at all, by all means. Like, they're a strong team in their own right, but M80 is just, like, this is where I would say Tier 1 North America is right now, and M80 are here. Like they're tier whatever higher than one. They're just unbelievably untouchable right now in North America.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the start of this organization's story here, is being able to dominate in this kind of tier 2 space in North America, playing out at the ECL level, and they're getting back to that conversation with the introduction of Hex. We can see in the past here how big, how massive just one player change is when you get a guy that in CS2 where it requires so much activity, when it requires so much work to be done in terms of forcing out utility, in terms of getting aggressive. It's a lot more of an active game where as Rec may be playing a little bit more passive, still stuck in the go ways. I think Hex activity has really elevated this M80 team into the back to the domination that they once felt here when they first really came into the picture.
All right, well, that being said, guys, we are going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we will break down that previous map and also set you up for the next one. Keep it locked here. All right, we're back here in this grand final between M80 and NRG for a chance to compete, at Blast Open London, and M80 dominated on Overpass, Cole. Honestly, it felt like maybe there was a little bit of back and forth in the opening parts of that first half, but after the first 6 rounds, M80 just took control and drove right to the finish line.
I mean, it's a dominant T-shot on Overpass. I think that already shows the level of depth that this team has working together. And then you see their CT side so well coordinated. Again, we're looking at really great performances out of players like Swisher that we've been really hunting for in this M80 camp for quite some time, right? We've been hoping to see this guy step into form here. We talked about the kind of iteration of this roster when Malbs and Swisher were first combined, and that felt like an unstoppable duo. And obviously, I think Swisher taking a lot more sacrifices since bringing in some of the new guys. But this is an exciting level here that he's bringing to the table, not only in this map, right, but also I think more consistently when Hex has joined the team. It just feels like it's opening up more opportunities for him to thrive.
No question. I mean, I think that Hex has been the best addition for the squad. You might look at his numbers and be like, really? Like, no. It's not just about how many frags Hex is getting. It's about the space he's opening up, but the impact of the frags he does get. And we mentioned it, right? The one towards that B site that allowed Sin to really manipulate the defense of NRG and lead to a 3-man save. Like, NRG were completely out of position, not even in contention for that A site by the time M80 made their way there. It was just Bro, and once Bro was gone, there's nothing left for them. So yeah, I mean, there's that. There's Swisher, who's in positions to get frags, I feel, and they want him to feel comfortable. They want him to start being that star player beside Hex, and also Lake, because Lake is in those positions where he's going to be taking a lot of forward fights. And if Lake is doing well, and then Swisher is also popping off with slacks on that AWP, they become a force to be reckoned with. I think it's not just in North America, it's internationally. That's why I'd love to see them competing up against those European squads, because that's when they'll really be tested. That being said, you know, NRG, at the beginning anyway, you saw Zodic, what he offers to this squad, right? When he's getting those opening frags, when he's doing work for this NRG team, it really does help them find that space and get rounds, which they did find over, I think it was round number 3 that they got for themselves on the board. That being said, MVP for M80 is Swisher, 18 and 7, 108.4 ADR. I mean, that is just some crazy numbers coming through that we, like you said, Cole, weren't really seeing over a large portion of 2024 and even in the beginning of 2025. But, you know, he's had his reawakening.
Yeah, it's a welcomed one at that as well. Just able to provide so many opening duels. Looking, you know, really dominant when it comes down to what he was able to do in connector. Even if he was getting collapsed in on from, you know, a couple different angles, it always felt like he was ready to deal with at least the 1-for-1, and that created so much space there. So, I mean, you can see his impact right now, definitely felt in the server, felt in the pistol rounds here, off the back of the Sin flashes, and just making life really easy for M80 in terms of how they close out Overpass. If that continues to the next map of Train here, going to be more concerns for NRG.
Yeah, and well, NRG picked into this map, right? So that means M80, they start on CT side. They continue on that defensive end, and what was rolling for them on Overpass is going to be the same story on Train, right? You know, you got the op of Slacks who's going to be playing, you know, probably in connector, maybe leading into B side sometimes, but mostly defending that A side. Ivy is a very powerful position to be held as well, because you can check Ivy, you can check towards T-Con as well, so you've got a lot of opportunities there. The op is so critical. You can run 2 ops on Train very comfortably as well, if you want to, although I don't think M80 will. It's something that they could opt for if things end up going really, really well in their favor. And on the other side, this is where Zodic's going to be tested. Again, I think it's going to be critical for him, because even on your T side, you can still run the AWP and be very effective with it. So he's going to go toe-to-toe, my guess is, with Slacks on multiple occasions, and he's going to have to win out those duels, especially if he wants his team to find some success. They do put a lot of emphasis on the Energy squad, on their opper.
Yeah, they do here, and it was just 5 kills in that last map of Overpass. I feel like you remember some of those audit kills, and they were,
Yeah.
solid. They got them some round wins in the mix. It was some opening duels that looked effective, but that's a CT side start, and a lot of
Yeah.
opportunities with the AWP to bring out that he just really couldn't get activated, whether that was M80 throwing him off in terms of the positioning, but some missed opportunities on connections as well. And T-side train is unforgiving in the same sense that if you're not able to really thrive, it can quickly become a treacherous task of trying to force the issue. And then that comes down to, okay, what's the next step here for NRG, right? We talk about the success story of Hex on the aggression, on the activity in the early rounds there. I do look towards what NRG have as options for now aggressive rifling. Like Carson maybe can do that, but I don't think that's necessarily his primary comfort position there. I think the same is true for George when it comes to like early activity. These are guys that I think like to work in the late rounds and activate a little bit later down the line. I will give credit to the one factor here. I do think Carson's a very adaptable player and can get into situations where even though he's adjusting into different roles, he can look very comfortable. But that is the challenge here for NRG is losing some activity in the map.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that Carson was good on during his time on Nouns in particular is taking aggressive fights in the middle of the maps, like Ancient or Mirage, like going down for those fights and winning them early on in the rounds. That's when he was calling, though, so he was kind of calling around himself to go for those plays. I think since that point, it hasn't necessarily been there. We didn't see it when he left Nouns. I still haven't really seen him perform that way on NRG. So even though he's taking a lot of opening fights, 21.4% of them, it's pretty evenly shared amongst himself, Bro, and Zodic. It hasn't been there. I think if that comes through more consistently for the NRG squad, then things could get a little more powerful on their side in terms of opening up that space, both on CT and T side. Anyway, guys, we are going to take a quick break before we get started on that next map, but when we get back, we're jumping right on the train. All right, we're back with the Ace NA Masters 2025 Season 2 Blast Premier Rising event. It is going to be M80 up against NRG. Map number 2. Train is on the docket. And NRG, their lives here on the line.
See what they can bring to the table here. Good block, Molly. Slow them down. A surprising amount of kind of restraint right now from the CT side. They're committed. I mean, look at this four-man stack on the B side of the map here. This is a bold call. Is it on the money? Because you have a little bit of utility to disrupt this, but if you're walking into a four-man lean, you got to have some serious shots to back it up.
Yeah.
And this just seems like NRG hoping for some aggression that's not going to come through. In the meantime, there's just smoke to slow things down.
It's the only util that M80 have, though. So NRG just going to wait that out. That lurk fight's important.
Big pick.
Yeah. Zodic finding Hex will force some attention towards A. Lake fades off, so now it's 3 players on B as opposed to having that extra piece available for M80. And there goes Zodic finding Lake as well. This is fantastic work for him. And one thing I've praised Zodic for in the past is not just his opping, but his ability on those pistol rounds. Like, he is exceptionally lethal. And because of that, yeah, you send it A. Forget about B. You already found 2 frags there. Energy's going to get this plant.
I mean, a really good mid-round call coming through there. Zodic makes it easy, but not overcomplicating matters here and identifying there's 2 players weakened up on the A side. Even if it's only 3 players defending, we still have the advantage to collapse through Pop and Ivy. So Zodic, I feel like, single-handedly avoiding what could have been a disastrous B side execute into a stack, and now looking to continue his efforts here throughout this post-plant. Hard cleared, will be dealt with. Slack's at least able to make some strides. This is not going to be a round that they go for here, though. It's kills that they're gunning right now. Extra $50 for every frag they find. And a save coming through here off the back of the pistols. Swisher trying to draw that attention, keep him on the bomb, but Slack's dealt with just the same. And an incredibly successful round brought to you by Zodic. That's a confidence-building start here. For an Opera that had a little bit of flash in Overpass, he's going to need to elevate his game here on Train.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to need to see some fireworks from Zodic this time, not just the flashes. Is it just a pistol round, though? Can't get too excited if you're NRG. Also realizing that M80 are not going to shy away from a 4-spy. 3 MP9s, a Scout, and a Deagle. One thing that happened yesterday, actually, and I did say Carson hasn't been as strong as I would like to see him be, based on his performance on Nouns. He did have a very good map of Train yesterday. 19-7, 123.7 ADR, and a 2.08 rating in a 13-2 drubbing of Boss. So they're hoping to channel some of the energy from yesterday. Here, Nitro just jumping through the air, catches Hex. 5v4 just like that. Bomb gonna get planted, and I think M80 may just pull the plug.
Yeah, it'd be the best idea here. Try and get a second bite out of this force by the next. Not overcomplicating the matter right there for NRG. Just taking charge into the 5-7. And if Hex doesn't get a massive multi-kill, you're probably going to be A-okay. Bit of an off-spawn maneuver there from NRG. Going to get them lifted off to a 0-2 score line. Now it's about how much weaponry they can save. Everyone huddling in T-spawn kind of gives me feeling that M80 will be A-okay. And that NRG not too interested in turning the corner into what feels like could be certain death. There's a MAC-10 in the back turn. An opportunity for a freebie is capitalized on. So 1 extra kill right there off the back of Slacks. Fallen a little bit off, maybe not communicated. NRG gonna get 2 kills in this round.
Yeah, not going to make too much of a difference here. I mean, obviously, M80 has 1 less SMG to work with. But overall, it was going to be a rough buy for M80, no matter which way you look at it. 2-0 for NRG. Going to convert that 3rd off the pistol round victory, and then the real rounds will get started with the rifles. NRG, see them pushing out a T-Con right now really quickly. They will not be afforded that luxury once M80 has the util. So they're trying to take advantage of it, while they can. Late Deagle has been really effective for him, but this time cannot connect with the shots, and NRG just cruising their way to seemingly a 3rd round victory.
understand much of a contained game can be played out here. Slax does cut one off with the scout. Every kill counting for him as well as he looks to get an op out for his opening affair. He's going to fall though. In the meantime, and NRG going to try and keep this one nice and tidy. This is another extra element with the update, but the I guess top train position a little bit more accessible there. Although Nitro would just fall off. An extra kill provided here. We'll see what the economy's looking like. For Slacks, he has plenty of op money, and as you said, now it's going to come down to, okay, we have ourselves all the utility we can ask for. We have the op in play. Let's try and slow down the aggression. NRG capitalize on their opportunities up against the pistol success and the following force buy. So a good start to their T side here, setting the tone. We'll see if they can continue to develop that level of speed that they've been putting to the play here early on.
Yeah, and this is a really nice adjustment from them. You see no one goes into T-Con because they know that a barrage of util is headed that way, and it's already in. That being said, the Molotov getting thrown for B ramp.
They're going to go out upper here pretty soon. I mean,
yeah,
again, a pretty fast play.
Hex is watching, right? And once Hex calls for it, he'll probably have Slack supporting with the AWP. There's the first for Hex. Op swings around, and Hex and Slack doing works here. Really nicely done. Zodic and Bro, the last two standing, and now only Bro. As Hex gonna get two, Slack's the same. Completely falls apart.
Yeah, try and keep up a pretty aggressive pace here. As you said, not necessarily towards T-Con, but in the direction of that B side of the map, and that one just gets sideswiped. 2 kills coming through from both the B players at the moment. Bro is just left for a 45-second, if not longer, save here at this point.
Right. I don't mind the play from NRG, right? Because we knew that T-Con would be a difficult take for them, but I don't think they expected to see the op there as well. I think they were hoping that Slacks would be guarding the A site, and they'd only have to deal with Hex, but with both pieces there, it was too tall of a task. And even then, Hex was popping off, right? He gets 2 of them, and then Slacks activates for a couple more, but it's just too strong of a defense to rebuff when you're trying to go for a simplistic play like that.
It's a bit of a statement start there with the rifles in play, keeping this round flawless.
Yeah.
No one falling, so that utility always going to be stabilized in the next with everyone surviving. AK is going to be cathered here for Hex and Blake. It's always scary to have those weapons to play up against on the CT side of Train in particular, and or really, any map for that matter. When you get the AKs on that CT side, it just becomes that much more difficult to claw through here. But fortunately, with the clean nature in which NRG win these last couple of rounds, they're going to still bring in a really efficient buy coming up next. And after that off-spawn play starts to get punished, sometimes that's where you feel the need to start to slow things down. See if that's the case here. Well, the activity. George just establishing a foothold in pop right now, but CT's head also poking and prodding for that control as well. They're ready to move here through Ivy. Smoke's already in to get their way through. Flashbang to follow it up. Carson is scaling rapidly, and you wonder if that's even registered.
No.
At this point, it's not.
No,
massive
it's not.
move. Hex is aware, though. I think he is. He's silent about his approach, and he's deadly as well. Able to back this one up here as Slacks and Hex are doing it again. Both of them finding the opening picks of this round simultaneously.
I think what's interesting for Hex is, look how far he got away from that B anchor position we were already talking about. Zodic will get one back onto Sim, but it's still a man advantage in favor of M80. But yeah, he doesn't hold one spot. He's going to be lurking around, saying, okay, maybe I have to clean this space. And I think he got the comm saying someone might have slipped through Ivy. I'm not sure. And that would have been
I also
from,
think he might have heard Carson there towards the tail end.
Maybe.
A little bit of footsteps there. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's either good communication or good register coming through from Hex. Doesn't overcommit to the duel there. Had a chance to pick up another, but the B side's going to fall. So a bomb play activated. An op on the lurk. This is an interesting position for Zodic. Trying to cut off rotates here. Spots out one, and he got seen as well. So only 2 players now locking horns on this hold of the B bomb site.
get anything? Yes. Hex deleted, and then Nitro is as well. 3v2 in favor of M80 as they're looking to retake the space towards this B site. Bro, a lot of pressure on his shoulders, does get a nice one onto Slacks, but Lake is right there to deliver a comforting frag. Zodic, last one standing. Defusal comes through, he just has no chance to counter it, and that will be it for the round. Second picked up by M80.
Looks like he was thinking of pulling a fallen right there, trying to dive into that and deny the defuse, get past the crosshair that was watching him, but I think he knows the risk of that play. Not going to try for it there. I mean, really nice attempt from Bro. Yeah, I mean, that almost lines up a multi. Incredibly close with the crosshair placement. Unfortunately, not able to land a follow-up kill to really seal that one in and allow for Zodic to play spoiler in that round. Now, op is maintained here. The money getting a little bit shy on the side of NRG, except for that op that's held on to. So they'll go for a half by around it. And Zodic is no stranger to having to find these opening picks with the AWP.
NRG just keep going B, though. Since that fourth round of play, they haven't even touched the A site. And you see 4 players from M80 waiting here. The defensive setup they have is so strong, so I can't really blame NRG from avoiding it. But Hexed, he's no slouch either. That's why they leave him by his lonesome. They have full confidence in his abilities.
Yeah,
Next.
they're going to need to get in position here in time. There's an Ivy lurk smoke that's going to continue to draw attention, but Swisher's now on the scene. He's here to help out in this hold. Tossing utility around, a little flashbang setup. Ollie goes in, looking to play around it, and they let him slide on by, but Swisher, I don't know how he has visual.
How does he see that?
Spray and pray, maybe, I don't know. Either way, it's Bro shut out of this one. And there's not a lot of forward mobility here into the site either. Hoping that maybe there's some overextensions, but the over peaks aren't coming.
They look a little lost in their ideas here, like they don't know what they want to do. A couple of players rotating into Long Dog, and now they're grouping up towards the B site for the hit. Util's there, and Zodic, there you go. You talked about it. Need that op frag to come through, and it does. So they trade it out. 25 seconds left. Time is against them. Swisher's still waiting here. Sees the toes of George, and will spray him down after he gets flashed. Nitro coming on forward, but it is M80's defense that appears to be a little too strong at this stage.
Okay.
No! Zodic hits the shot onto Lake. Sin trying to close in on them. Boston plant. They don't expect him up close at all. Sin's gonna get one. The second may be too tall of an ask, and Slack says, I got this. No scope with the AWP. Finishes off the round in style, and M80 find a third.
Zodic bringing in the attention here. Putting the pressure on. Offering up a lot of disruption, even if they don't quite close out that round. You can see his op impacting the server in the opening phase. And as you said, from NRG, maybe just a lack of intensity there on the opening duel. I think a bit unfortunate to lose Bro so isolated, especially when you see how close this round is. If they're playing this one 5v5, you think maybe with some extra resources they can start to scale. But you also put into question, you know, if Zodic's able to post up for as long and actually get that extension that he was hoping for. It's still 5v5, so either way, Zodic already, you know, surpassing the kill totals here on Overpass on the T side of Train is a good sign for NRG to try and lift up this series here for themselves.
Finally exploring Ivy a little bit more. That's where Zodic found his success in the pistol round. 2 players there, one towards T-Con, the other 2 outside of B. This is very much a default setup for NRG, hoping that pushes will come through, but M80 haven't shown any initiative to go for aggression so far. They're really just holding on to the sites and waiting for NRG to come to them. Smoke thrown for Ivy, and that could push NRG completely off of this angle.
Seems like it. Now here stalled out past the minute mark. Quite a bit here. More block utility as well in play.
Another smoke.
So Ivy feeling a bit off limits at the moment. See what they do to try and get past this. Yeah, I mean 30 seconds left. Maybe looking to flash through here. I mean, you see Carson inside the smoke. Oh boy. Tap on through there, Swisher. He's going to start to restrain. He tries to fall back into safety here, walking it out though. Boxed into a corner. It's a, just horrific lineup. Nitro and Carson cannot quite coordinate right there. And the molly bounces back out of Zodic here. Swisher continuing to tear through them. Unstoppable, unmovable. Will not budge, will not give over that control. And Bro left into a familiar situation, an impossible round, a 1v5 that is done and dusted.
That is really unfortunate for NRG. I think Swisher is trying to bait them into looking to the left first as they come out by firing that one shot and fading into that cubby, which they do, but then they realize, okay, he's not there, so he must be the other direction. Correct read, damage done to their own team when they were going
that lineup right there.
Yeah. I mean, look, Swisher kind of got gifted that 2K in a lot of ways because Carson's spamming and then his teammate walks in front of him and tries to join up, but it's just not well coordinated in its effort. It would have been better just to fight Swisher individually on Carson, and then if Carson falls, you go for the swing afterwards, and you're almost guaranteed a chance at the trade, or a much higher percentage at the trade, instead of running in front of each other, doing team damage, and giving Swisher a much easier lineup to find those 2 frags. And then he even gets the 3rd afterwards. I mean, this has been M80 since the guns came out, looking exceptionally strong. 4 in a row here.
Yeah, I think just a really unfortunate bit of spacing right there, the big difference maker for NRG. It's just one of those small details that you sometimes clash with in the heat of the moment, especially when time's limited. That's the sort of mistake that you really get to take advantage of here. But Bro, oh, he's in a massive position right now. HE doesn't expose him. They don't go hunting for him, so he is in a big-time playmaking position. 1-2 kills on his board here. Slack's in a panic to recover, but Bro's just made this round happen here. He's been forced into impossible situations where the round is decided for him, but this time he's taken the initiative. 3 kills before, and looking for a 5th. Will find it. Oh my god, it's a 4th rather. He wants it all though. Hex around the corner is sweating, and Bro has just single-handedly won them the round with that play.
This is what Bro was doing for them. I mean, he does it for them in a lot of their wins. Is George's going to get that last, denies Bro the ace, that doesn't matter. They get a round victory. That's so important. But he's got that X factor. He's got that star power on this NRG squad to make plays like that and bring them back into it. It's just when they're up against tougher competition, it feels like that element disappears more often than not. And, even Zodic's op isn't as effective. But that round, that push, right? No one expected it at all. You're right. The smoke break didn't expose him, and Bro just dances around the defense of M80. Beautiful taps as well to get those first 2 frags. And we are in a tied scoreline. M80 finally shut down in a decisive way, but it does come off an individual effort, which is not always replicable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big case there. Can you continue to get Bro involved like that?
Yeah.
Can you continue to find that space out of T-Con? This is something that I think right now, if you're Nitro and Daps, you wanna discuss. Is that a actual vulnerability that we can capitalize on? Because it's a huge oversight coming through from the M80 camp, right? They just blow open the smoke, but no one really there to fully clear out that position. Even though they have the protocols, the due diligence not necessarily there. Just opens up the playbook a little bit more here. A one-man effort there from Bro, is going to leave M80 scratching their heads as to how that's possible. Is there anything now that you can do to string success off the back of that?
Lake finally getting aggressive towards Long Dog. Slacks holding the angle with the off. They don't expect Lake on the other side, and Lake activates for 2, almost a 3rd. Falls a little bit short of that.
Whoa.
Carson manages to get one back on Sin. He just forces the issue there, but there's a great trade from Swisher to ensure that the man advantage stays in their favor, but it's only brief. This is chaotic right now from NRG. They are pushing and forcing every single edge that they possibly can.
There's a molly. Wrap up this flank. He's going to smoke it. He's going to move past it. This is what Hex does here. Fearlessness is coming through, but he can't deny the bomb plant. Oh, what coverage from Zodic. Rifle picked up here inside a pop. And now he has to deal with Hex smoke that he threw earlier. He's going to have to walk through this thing. And now Zodic is inside with him. Both joining forces here. They're side by side. They're back to back. Flax is going to get the jump on him. A little bit awkward in the kill. Converted. George in a 1v1. He's going to go for it. Smoke on top of the bomb. He's got to get on it quickly. Has a kit to try and get this defuse on off, but can he find the smoke spam? Back and forth here right now. Slacks is looking for the kill. He wants to win it with that frag, but he can't get back on top of the bomb in time. So George going to use that clock to his advantage. The pressure put on. And Slack's going to be forced to hold on to his rifle.
Wow. I mean, an unbelievable back and forth play in that round. One of the more exciting ones we've seen throughout the series as NRG retake the lead off of that. Once Lake gets those two, I'm like, okay, this is likely going the way of M80, but just an immediate explosion from George and Carson on the other side. And this, unfortunate for Zodic, had no idea what was going on. Probably made him jump. He's like, what's happening? Where am I getting shot from? By the time he realizes it's too late, but still, the hold on the site is good. Slacks cannot clutch it out, and now Zodic is activating with the AWP. NRG, life has been breathed into them.
This is looking like a team reinvigorated right now. Zodic opening duels. We're seeing activity out of Carson. We question the ability of these riflers to do damage in the opening phase, but right now everyone able to answer the call here on NRG. Re-aggression though from Slacks is dangerous. Being watched for now. Timing could be deadly. And catching the shoulder, but no punish. Just the expose of the op here. In a position in which he's not going to be able to thrive. What sort of reaction do you get out of NRG? No need to rush it. Still take their time about things here at the moment. Keep on smoke here. 50 seconds left on the clock. Gonna have to make this last-ditch effort into the B side here. And this hold needs to be gelled together. And now it's amplified by an extra rifle here joining forces.
Fisher sees the toes, sprays one down. Great trading, great flash from Carson, who gets the follow-up as well. Hex and Slacks have a lot of work ahead of them. Hex grabs the AK off the ground. Bomb being planted. They're watching for him because they know he's there, so Slacks has to be the piece that connects with something. Op the op coming through, and Slacks wins the duel. 2v2.
Oh my
Slacks
God.
finds the second as well. No way I made to get back into this. Bro, last one standing. Connects on the frag. Now down to Slacks. He's already got two. Needs the third. Fakes the defusal. Bro realizes it. Throws a good flash, but the anti-flash is better from Slacks. What a play. Quick scope at the end. Defusal comes through. That is how you win it with an AWP here on that retake.
Oh my God, Slacks, what a hero. Unbelievable work, needing to find all 3 kills in the post, saving the day for M80 in a monumental way when there's a little resurgence and uprising from NRG in the rankings. Getting shut down by Slacks AWP 12-4. An unbelievable round taken at the hands of this German sniper, continuing to find impact. Confidence exuding here now from Slacks. He wants to take the duels again. In towards the pop, containing this control here. Hearing the footsteps rattling off from NRG above. Now you got to prepare yourself here, Hex. It's heading your way.
He's not ready at all. Tech 9's going to do it. George gets clotheslined by Swisher on that peek from Connector.
Oh, wow.
And Swisher finds the follow-up too. I thought Bro might have had that with that rifle in his hands, but no. Zodic will grab the AK off the ground and hope to do something with it, but
God.
Slacks is on from Top Dog into Long Dog to get Nitro. Like, waiting outside the smoke saying, Carson,
Wow.
what do you think you're doing? Zodic will manage to get one here, but it feels like
Okay.
too tall of a task, right? Is it? It is. Lake finds the last one, and M80 will retake the lead.
And great read coming through there from M80 and Swisher with some great coverage. Dealing with the pressure when Hex falls. There is backup. Arriving quickly, almost a little too late there for Swisher to turn that corner, but when he finds these kills so quickly, all of that fear factor nullified. And M80 at least get to secure themselves a knotted up half, if not more, towards a tail end.
And you got to give NRG a lot of credit here. They've been getting a ton of bomb plants in these rounds. You know, there were some dominant rounds for M80 where they were shutting down NRG. But they've really awoken here in the latter part of this first half. Not going to have any aggression out of T-Con or Ivy, though.
I think they just have a lot of different good opening moves here. We've seen some fights towards Ivy that could be an overlooked part of the map there. And so, different ways to find access in this round here, but this time shut down. The flash play's been good, but this time not so much. Sin playing in a different angle here this time is able to capitalize. That flash doesn't catch. Lake just refreshed the smoke as well. So NRG are left stalled out at the moment.
Yeah, their first 2 opening engagements rebuffed. Bro waiting beyond this smoke. Dangerous spot, and he's going to realize that and back off for the time being. Still a full minute left for Energy to work with. It's going A. They're going to try and pincer in from Pop and T-Con, which may be a little bit difficult because one of those players is an op. Waiting for their time, and yep, Slacks finds Bro. Lake will finish off Nitro. It is all up to Zodic, who's flashed out, backs off, but 5 pieces to find and take off the board if he wants a chance here. There's the first. 35 seconds left, needs a ton more, and M80 realizing that says, nah, we don't have to push. We're just gonna wait and spam, and there it is. Swisher finds the last. 7-5 for M80 as we head to the halftime break. Welcome back. Second half of action here between M80 and NRG. M80 do get that CT-sided lead, but it's more of a standard 7-5 as they head to their T-side, which John Train has been weaker for them. Only 40% of their T-side rounds have been victories. So there's something to be said about an opportunity here for NRG. Thanks to their stellar play, right? On that first half, it looked like things were going to be just a runaway victory for M80 again, but NRG really awoke with that 4th round victory thanks to Bro, and they built off of that.
Yeah, that was the big difference maker. The Bro, massive move through T-Con that really bailed them out of a scary looking half and gave them some new energy, allowing for everyone else to step up to the plate, buying time for the firepower that energy brings. This time Sonic going down to the flames here, and Swisher denies George any success. Nitro forced to fall off into a more passive position as the reinforcements arrive. Slack's committed to the duel as Hex scales up, and they've got their ground, they've got their bomb plant, but can they convert here in the post?
Heck's being really careful not to overfight here, and yeah, I mean, he does a great job keeping himself stabilized, allowing his teammates to activate as well, and no one able to do much of anything on the NRG side. Pistol round goes M80's way, so both teams picking up the T side pistol. And now, I mean, look, it's an opportunity for M80 to build up in towards double digits. NRG perhaps realizing that and thinking, okay, a forest buy might not yield us much. Let's just wait until the guns come out and try to prevent them from getting to that 10th.
That's a big step up right there on the pistol. Smart decision making, but most of all, I think a great execution, the volley of utility to not only get the site control, but then extend it past the point into deep B. That's that extra step that you need. Got USPs through Ivy. You've got T-Con coverage as well, so you're trying to force the reaction. Kind of got that here at this point, but the reaction was hopefully forced towards the A side. Instead, it looks like they're going to walk into a very open B bomb site, identifying the stacking presence. Guns out there, Carson getting chased down, and finished off through the smoke there, but Sin will fall. So a gun to be recovered for George, a rifle, extra $50 for just about everyone on the server there for NRG's camp, and
yeah,
you're gonna walk away with a little bit of prizes here as you look to set up for your gun round success.
Yeah, I would definitely send those USPs hunting. So you just keep the Galil, don't worry about the round, but try to get another rifle out of this one.
I also want Zodic to get a couple of kills here. If you can get an op out, even if it's glass cannon, I think that's going to be, you know, something that you can really provide a little bit of extra coverage. Seems like they do have the USPs hunting for some frags here and there, hoping that the bomb can do a little bit more damage in the contained game, but should be all settled. Last ditch effort there, Lake down low, not going to fall.
Almost an extra $300 for Zodic, which would have been a glass cannon. But instead, he'll have to settle for the A1S going into round number 9. Nice frag from George at the very least to upgrade himself to the Galil, so that makes this buy up a little bit more comfortable for NRG. The pressure's on. You know, if you don't win this round, then you're looking at M80 probably getting into a position for a comfortable 11th round victory, and then all that work he did in the first half just completely evaporates. Sin and Swisher regrouping here outside of T-Con. They threw some util in to try and bait NRG into fighting towards A, and it's working. Oh my goodness, they're activating quickly towards B now. This is perfect. Nitro's waiting. He will try to rebuff them. Gets one. The second doesn't come through yet. Finally does as he falls. 3v3, but it does mean M80 have the B site, and all three A players are isolated thanks to that Molotov. Hex uses it to gain even more space. They throw a flashbang on both sides. It is absolute chaos here as NRG are trying to just power their way back into B. Look where Swisher is. I mean, throughout all this chaos is when things can get lost, and that's what's going to happen here if Swisher has a chance to activate. He will.
Next turns here. How much can he gather? This is the attention turn, but everyone falls at the hands of Swisher and Sin. A complete destruction of NRG on that round. A risky contact walk down the B side, but all according to plan. When M80 land those trades, they cut off the rotator first. They force Nitro into a situation where he has to turn the corner and commit with his USP. The fact that Bro goes down there without any impact, without any kills, just a little bit of damage is so punishing. Nitro falls, the rotates are left too far gone, even with Hex on low HP. It's a round that they don't have the utility or the health to recover from.
And we have to give Swisher a ton of credit for that heads-up play, right? Getting it on that flank in that situation when so much is going on, for him to have the wherewithal to go to that position, it's unbelievable. And his team does a fantastic job of keeping the attention firmly focused towards the B site proper. Slacks an opener onto Zodic. Lake's already taken a lot of damage. He's down to 2 HP. So one player on notice, but it is NRG on a half buy. A4 for George. Look where Swisher is. He's waiting. He's waiting for George to do this. Should be an easy frag. Oh, yeah, eventually. Not as easy maybe as he would have thought, but he does dodge the bullets that George fires his way. And there's the big piece off the board.
A little bit unfortunate there. There's no head Kevlar for George, obviously going in for a hero rifle and not a lot of utility behind it. Just wanting to win some aim duels, but headshot rolling out from Swisher. We'll keep coverage. Low HP bars here. Lake down a little bit low. You have to lean on that.
Nitro could do work here. So
Oh, that's going to make it hard. Molly. keeping them committed. There is no escape path now, and they sacrifice Lake for the cause of taking T-Con.
Yeah, I mean, Lake knew that he was the one with the lowest HP, so he had to go for that fight, and they had to hope for the trade, but the trade was perfect, so his job is done. Carson spam through the box. That's going to do it for him. Yeah, nothing at all that he could really do to activate in that situation. Bro, 1v4, bomb planted, hope is there, but it's very slim, and that's why Sin fires around that corner, and we'll get the last 11-5 in favor of M80.
Having to work through this map kind of the hard way here, but dominance in the first gun round will help you out. Even when the scoreline's a little bit close, even when there's enough T-side rounds from NRG to really make you believe that, you know, they could be the team in North America to offer up some disruption to kind of try and shake the rankings here. And how we look at this new look M80 team. That is being denied right now. Continued impact rolling through just about everyone here on the M80 camp. Slack's looking to get involved here with the op 16-5. Committed angle on this hold the B side, but Nitro forced to rein it in here a little bit.
This will be interesting to see how M80 deploys their forces in this round. Nitro's using a lot of utility. He's already got the incendiary and the flash gone. There goes the smoke as well. Still a lot of time left on the clock, so he could potentially be fairly exposed as time goes on here. Good flashbang thrown to clear out Ivy by George, Carson and himself, making sure that no one's making that approach.
I think this would commit more resistance towards the B side, but Nitro's entrusted of this entirety of the map right now. They've got this double committal towards Pop. She highlighted, and you wonder if they're ever going to move here. Focus on Ivy and Pop. Now there's some aggression here. This is something I like to see from NRG. It smokes out A here, T-Con Molly. They're fully focused, though, on cutting off this B-side cross, and Sonic will insta the first peak right there. That's a bomb on the floor. Early warning signs right now as he looks to keep coverage. Bro, thinking about turning the corner here. Not going to make the move, so it's still on Nitro's shoulders.
18 seconds left for M80 to try and get into this site. Slack's an important one, but they overlook Nitro towards Oil. That said, the frags keep going back and forth, and it will be M80 who end up with the edge, but Bro does get the trade. Bomb is down. No time left to plant it, and it will be NRG coming out with the round victory. Wow.
God, that kill on a Nitro right there does it all. Nitro able to find that frag onto Slacks. Coming through there in towards the lower side. He was the bomb carrier down on low health, and you can see great positioning coming through there to try and trade things out. Slack's just cutting off the rotates, and I love that decision making there to post up on the op when you're low on HP, just facilitating the rifles. But when Nitro drops that bomb, round becomes infinitely more difficult.
Swisher tried to get it back, but it wasn't possible. M80 lose that round, although the money's still very strong for them, so they'll have a buy-up. It's kind of the opposite story for NRG. They didn't have much money, which means that losing that many bodies was exceptionally costly. Now they're running into this round with an MP9, a Hamas, still the two A1Ss, and more importantly, Zodic on the AWP. Had a slow first half, but he's starting to get his rhythm here on CT side, or at least a chance to. He's waiting towards Ivy. Watching that position. There's a chance for him to strike.
Oh,
flash.
This time they ram boost around that corner there. This time, gonna smoke him off. Flashbang to try and reaggress. George not taking a lot of heat right now. But you can see NRG very focused on, you know, two angles right now. Towards Pop and towards Ivy is their really main port of call. Moving over T-Con control, which honestly is a bit of a rarity in terms of how so many teams like to play this map. There's aggression. Well timed. George pressing through Ivy. Not just holding onto this space, but taking full control of this round here. Quick trade coming through, but Sonic has extra coverage. And again, George is now the win condition of this round here. They might look to give over sight. They're just going to look to delay this round out.
I'm going to get planted by Hexed. George activates at the perfect time. Swisher's not even watching towards T-Con. It's not even on his mind. Slacks and Hex, all the pressure on them, and now it's all up to Hex in a 1v4. He's good in the 1vx situations. Maybe he can do this one as well. There's the 2 that he needs to make it a 1vx. Excuse me, 1v2. And Hex wants more. He won't get it. Nitro will end him. And it is NRG climbing on back into this one with a 7th.
Lovely work there coming through on the flank from George. Big difference maker. It's a little bit dicey when you do lose that T-Con control early, but you can see that they have that win condition locked in. Zodic able to provide more coverage with the op bro, at least going 1-for-1 here as well. When you have flanks like this, 1-for-1 is something you can certainly afford. A little bit of damage done there towards the tail end. NRG still hanging here on the CT side. Just got to keep surviving up against these gun rounds, and
yeah,
that's another one in play, but it's still on a knife's edge.
I mean, the thing
Can't
is
afford
also
any losses.
their money's running out every single round because they keep losing bodies. Slacks, and that's thanks to Hex just getting those 2 on the tail end because it could have been cleaner. Anyway, Slacks is going to get the opener towards Exotic. He wins the op v op duel. 4v4 now, and it makes that vibe look so much softer for NRG because you lose the op, now you have those 2 MP9s, the AK, which is good, and the A1S, but there goes an MP9. Clake just absolutely obliterates bro. 5v3. Carson, along with Nitro and all of NRG towards A. I mean, if MNE just speed it up into B, they're just going to get this plant.
He's afforded the luxury of backing out of this one, and well, they're going to retake pop control. Can they follow in the footsteps of this execute? How much disruption can they cause here? This double up, being watched now by Swisher. He cuts the noise and cuts them off here. Slacks has backup as well. Lured in to the idea that they can save this round just for it to be ripped away, as is this last gun. If George doesn't have anything to say about it, 1 kill. The hunting party is on, though. They know that if they can deny this gun, they put themselves in a massive winning position.
George will get that. George, you got another one?
Okay.
He does.
Okay.
Oh, finally drop it. Still, at least getting a few frags and actually makes the buy-up a little more difficult for M80. I think they still have enough to get the AKs up across the board with the util, but a little more challenging. On the other side, George has built up a decent amount of cash for himself, so he's going to get the AWP. Is he just going to keep the op because he's the only one that can afford the armor? Perhaps so. Either way, I mean, this is just some great work from M80 and Swisher and Slacks watching the flank, not allowing NRG any space to get back in on that retake. And now they've got 5 opportunities to close this one out. Buy-up is, yeah, it's what you'd expect from NRG with their backs against the wall and how those previous rounds went. 3 MP9s now. The AWP does go to Zodic as he has the body armor, and he finds the opener.
A little bit of revenge there. Collected. Slacks this time. Falls into head-to-head, but Lake wants to pull it back here. Game of timing. Identified. Side turned. A little bit labored. Carson will do the job.
George actually saved him. George is the one who finishes it. Yeah.
Oh,
George.
Okay.
Well, I mean, look, the MP9
it's always good to have teammates.
Now. Yeah. Supporting his friend there, his teammate. 5v3 for NRG. They don't want to let this one slip away. An 8th secured would be great, especially Cole if they get that 8th without losing any bodies or only 1 body.
The AKs could then be recovered, and that's where the CT side can become deadly. As you said, let's see about if they can make this round look clean. There's a bit of a uprising there towards Ivy that draws out attention. It leaves the op, leaving its post. Now Swisher slides through the smoke, gets finished off by George. But into the realm of possibility now between Hex and Sin to try and save this round and seal up this game. Big shadow advantage on this duel, but what? Hex makes that kill look easy. Sin left alone on the site for now. Getting hunted down here. Carson, great move. Using that ladder as a bit of a silence. And now, oh, he's missed out. He didn't see him.
Oh no, this is falling apart for NRG. This could be it, folks. Zodic, last chance, gets the quick scope onto Sin. He's up against Hex. Does he know how low Hex is? He looks away. I think he might have realized he got pushed, but time's ticking away. He has to defuse this bomb soon. Hex knows that the pressure is on. I think time has run out. Zodic gonna have to hightail it back to the bomb, but there is very little time. In fact, no time left. M80 are gonna win the Ace NA Masters 2025 Season 2 Blast Premier Rising event, and they are headed to the Blast Open London.
Yeah, what a big deal here. M80 continuing to assert dominance here in a story that has been rising here off the back of this player break. A team that continues to show up off the back of changing up, bringing in this guy in Hex here from NRG in particular and asserting dominance over the region. This is such a big deal for M80, an organization that is setting their sights high here with the roster that they've built and assembled over this year. They've stuck with it for so long, finally making another move here, and it looks like they're getting back into their stride.
I mean, look, this is a team that rose through the ranks in North America to get to Pro League repeatedly, right? They were in that position where they were competing at that level quite a few times, just they stagnated, and that was the biggest problem when we expected growth, and they stuck with it. Though you have to give them credit. They said, okay, here's a piece that we can swap out in rec, bring Hexton, see if that helps. And man, oh man, it's amazing like how much of an explosion we've seen from AIM-80 since that point. That's their 9th BO3 win in a row. They still haven't dropped a single map throughout that time, nor have they given up more than 9 rounds in any of the maps. It's crazy what they've been able to achieve here, Cole. And look, now we're gonna get to see them up against the tough competition in Europe in Blast Open London.
Yeah, I mean, a huge detail there, as you said. I just think that this team's dominance here, the fact that they can't even let their opponents, like, get in the running for these games is an impressive feat right now in MR12, where you always think anything's possible if you're able to win a couple of rounds. I mean, we saw, situations there out of NRG, the massive moment from Bro that reignited the flame on that T side. That's a way that M80 should crumble in a half, and that's how, things get a little bit frustrating. Small details are missed, and Bro capitalized on that. He punished everyone. That's a kind of a thread that you can pull on right there on the side of NRG, and yet still they end the map here with 7 rounds. The clutch factor coming through from the closing statement, NRG, or rather M80 having, Hex and Sin combining their efforts to close out rounds. It's a really cool story here being built. And as I said, in terms of the most competitive team, the team that can do the most damage here entering into international competition from this qualifier, it is M80. They prove it here with another victory.
And I'm glad you brought up that collaboration between Sin and Hex, right? Because it changes the dynamic of the lurk that Hex is putting into play. Because Sin is always kind of nearby, supporting him, allowing him that space to be more aggressive on his lurks and find opening frags. And then when he does, Sin can come out and support him in that advancement. It's really something else what they've been able to achieve with a more aggressive player in the form of Hex. Instead of saying, no, you have to rein it in, they say, no, play your style, do you, and we'll make sure that that works. And that's what's been happening here for M80, not to mention Swisher's resurgence. He, in every single turn, has looked like that player that you want to have on your squad in the back lines, whether it be there or on overpass and connector. He was dominating those fights time after time. It's really impressive what this team as a whole has been able to build up again, and they become that formidable titan here in North America.
Yeah, I mean, as you highlighted right there, it's 9 series victories in a row, 9 2-0s, not giving over maps here. Up against anyone, they've played top caliber teams, right? They've played the best of the best in terms of wild card, in terms of now NRG being able to topple some of these top dogs that sometimes every once in a while they still held some advantages in these series, they would let them slip. They would let maps slip here and there and sometimes not convert on advantages. But right now M80 are having none of that. Every single advantage that they're working with, every 4v5 looking well coordinated, well formulated, and that sort of coverage is going to allow them to continue this conversation here of a dominant team.
And we're seeing the flashes, right, for NRG. Just talk about them a little bit. Like, the promise is there, and Zodic is able to look at that. I mean, Bro as well. Like, he's such a good player, so when he gets in those types of positions, he can punish so well. It's just that with those 2 new pieces, Carson and Zodic being added, we're seeing some issues in terms of chemistry. I think more importantly is the spacing that we saw in that one fight that just showed up on screen, where Carson is trying to fight, and then I think I can't remember which player it was, but Nitro walked in front of him. You can't be having that type of stuff happen, especially against a team like M80. So that's the little kinks that need to be worked out, but I feel like once things fall into place for NRG, maybe this squad can really start to make some noise, especially considering that Zodic has been as impressive as we were hoping he would be on the AWP.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? I mean, there's obviously a lot of details that you have to work out when it comes down to bringing in 2 new players and Opper in the mix, a very vocal player in Carson into the mix. That's kind of the luxury that M80 have, and not really shaking up their roster massively. just kind of changing up roles in terms of aggressive anchor versus a more passive anchor in terms of how Rec versus Hex was played out. But I think that just has allowed for M80 to skyrocket above the competition here in the scene. We
Yeah.
still have yet to see a lot out of complexity, which that'll be an interesting conversation there. How they can fare up, but I still think that M80 in this current iteration are able to really rise above the competition here and prove that they're the cream of the crop out of North America. That's exactly what they want to be.
Yeah, I think no matter which way you slice it, M80 are sitting at the top right now. Well, Complexity are having their struggles. Things aren't exactly going their way. Maybe a roster change incoming there. But, I mean, overall, M80 are the ones stabilizing and adapting to the meta in CS2. I think that anchors no longer can be as stable as they used to be. You have to be active. You have to be in the face of your opponents. And you're seeing that in the success that M80 is finding. They're always moving around the map. They don't feel as stagnant as they used to be, especially on their CT sides.
Yeah, it's all about right now at this point. I think where anchoring used to be about buying time, it used to be about survival. Now it's about killing. It's about getting your multi kills, your ability to play around smokes. I think the big difference making in from Go, where I think the passive anchoring was a lot more effective, is that holding angles, especially on land, was a lot easier to do. So I think the biggest example of it was how pit anchoring has changed, where you used to just smoke the molly and try and stay alive for as long as possible, allow for your crossfires to set up. Now you see people using their smokes for apartments and fighting towards lane every chance they can get, establishing before the executes go off, duels as soon as possible. And I think that's kind of the updated version that Hex brings to the table.
Yeah, and also one more point to add. Talk about Slack's MVP, no question. I mean, this is what an Opera has to do here on Train. You expect your Operas to be the MVPs, and no exception here. For Slack's 20 frags, 97.6 ADR and a 2.5 KDR, looking fantastic there. But yeah, another element that changes the way you anchor is because smokes blow away, right? You threw a smoke and go like, okay, that smoke is down. No one's going to be able to see through it. They'll have to push that smoke if they want to gain an advantage. Now, instead, the smoke can be blown open by a nade, and all of a sudden, your position's exposed, and you have to be able to read that timing, or instead of trying to do that, get aggressive, go up against the smokes, play a little bit differently in terms of the way you're anchoring down sight. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a welcome change. I like that, that it's more active, that teams have to get more involved in terms of their defenses of each bomb site. Anyway, look, this has been a fantastic series overall from M80 throughout the entirety of the tournament, Cole.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, again, seeing them in international competition here. I'm looking forward to seeing how they can operate versus the best of the best. We saw a little hint of that in the Frag finals there, where, I think maybe I still feel like they were showing that they were the better team in certain senses. I think they are now the better team in terms of being able to gel together with a little bit more time to operate as a roster. I'm hoping that we can continue to see them develop, and obviously, this is even more competition. When you head into this event, you're going to be playing some of the best rosters in the world, some of the best players in the world. So it's going to amplify the pressure that they have on their shoulders. That they've got to continue to establish a foothold here in the scene. But if they can do damage, if they can show what this roster is made of here in international competition, that'll be the ultimate test.
I mean, we've seen M80 do damage before, and now they're going to try to do it again at Blast Open London. That is going to be our time here wrapped up as well, folks. So thank you so much for tuning in. Congrats to M80 for qualifying for Blast Open London, and you're definitely going to want to tune into that because there's going to be some exciting Counter-Strike played there once it kicks off. Guys, hope you have an amazing night, and we'll see you next time.